Yeah, those who did the calculation must have realized that how easy it is. It is very straightforward and simple numbers are given. Hmm? So this is the mathematics behind this. Material cost is this much, conversion cost therefore this much. You need to divide it by only uh, rational units. So you just don't be misguided with this word. Rational units, I use that word. So it's the number of units, but actual production is not that much. Actual production is 1720. So therefore, when you allocate the cost, you take the normal and expected units. In other words, otherwise you can say expected units under normal circumstances, because there is a normal loss of 10%. So 10% to, yeah, 10%. Huh? So therefore 10% of 2000 is 200. Therefore 1800 is the normal output. So total cost is this much, and divided by 1800 gives you the unit cost. Here we have assumed that there is no scrap value. Now you can apply the logical reasoning. What has happened really? Like just take the example of there was no normal loss. If there were no normal loss, what would be the unit cost? 100,000, 175,000 divided by 2,000. So therefore, 175 divided by 2,000, unit cost goes down, right? 180, maybe 90, 87 something, 87.5, 175,000 divided by 2,000. So now you can understand that if there were no normal losses, cost of unit could have gone down, It is 87.5. Yes, yeah, there is. Do we have to consist normal loss of 10% of the input as loss of output? Okay, good question. So one question is asked, do we have to consider the normal loss, that particular percentage from the initial input? Actually, it depends. We do not know. Industry practices information should tell you, but in textbooks, examinations, always we take loss happens as a percentage of the material introduced. So it would be easy for you to calculate, but it may happen in different ways. Sometimes there may not be any material wastages, maybe defects. For example, I'll take the garment factories. Garment factory, there may be a little material wastage. For example, in terms of the length of fabric, in order to manufacture or just produce a particular garment, maybe a shirt, it may consume maybe 1 meter of cloth. But if you take this particular shirt, now 1 meter of cloth, the fabric is not there, less than that. Because some part is cut and just what we call cut pieces. Separate business is there in Pamunua. If you want, you can go there and buy cut pieces. When you cut fabric to produce garments, so unusable parts would be that. That is a waste of material. That is also a loss, a normal loss. That can be computed as a percentage of the material possible. Assume that in the manufacturing process, you may put wrong stitching, or when you iron, so you do lots of mistake. When you fix buttons, so wrong place. So they are defect products. It does not happen as a percentage of material. Mm. So always, if you think from the practical point of view, logical point of view, you can easily learn. So answer to your question is therefore no, it happens in any way, but for the simplicity, for examination purposes, we take it as a percentage of inputs. Otherwise, it has to be mentioned in the question. And so, okay, there is a bit confusion in one question. Do we have to assume that input to output ratio is 1:1? No, it's not necessarily. It's not. It depends on the situation. But in this case, it depends on the information. In this case, 2000 actually it implies, so it's good that that information has been given. 1 unit takes or needs 1 kilogram. So here we assume that output is 1700 units. So therefore, after deducting normal loss of 10%, 1800, therefore 1:1 ratio is obvious in this case. 1:1 ratio is obvious. But in the previous question, just go back to that one. See, that wasn't the case. You see, 5000 kilogram, 2000 units, where there is no loss. Therefore, 2.5 kilogram. Answer to your question is 1:1 ratio is not always. It depends on the information. So based on the information in this question, yes, 1:1. All right. Now, just go back to the basic. If there were no normal losses, 1 kilogram, 1 unit, kilogram, unit, you introduce 2000, then expected output is 2000, no loss. Actually, you produce 1000, sorry, 2000. Then what would be the unit cost? 175,000 divided by 2000, that is 87.5. That is much lower than this. What does it mean? What does it mean? When there is a loss, normal loss, not abnormal, normal loss, that normal loss, cost of that particular normal loss is absorbed among other products. That's it. You can logically calculate it. How? So take like this in your Excel. Now, without the loss, 175,000 divided by 2000, 87.5. Right? How much is the loss? 200. 200. What is the cost of a unit? Additional, like for 1,800 units, additional cost. So how much is it? 87.5 multiplied by 200. How much is it? Not seven. How much is it? Do you want me to? So I can. We can use the Excel. Say now total cost is 175,000 units. Was 1,800. Therefore, 175,000 divided by, it gives you this much. If there were no losses, right? If there were no losses, that is 2,000. Then your cost of a unit is 88. Actually, it is 87 something. 87.5. Difference is this much. So as a result, by 9 point Here also not exactly 97, right? 97.22 something. Actually, it has been rounded up. Okay, 175,000 divided by 1,200 this much. Okay, so it's good that we did this calculation so that we were able to identify this rounding up errors. So this much is the difference. Your cost of a product has gone up by this much due to this normal loss. What is the cost of the normal loss? Normal loss. Total cost of the normal loss is this much. Here we know that 200 units is the loss into the rate. So this rate, if there were no loss, we assume that unit cost could have been 87,000. So 17,500 is the normal loss. You got it? So if you divide this thing into cost of production, would be like this: 1,800 into this much. Total would be like this. This is how 175,000 comes in. So now, if you split this 170,000 into cost of loss and normal loss within a context that there is no loss, assuming the two parts of goods. So here 200 units and here 1,800 units. What I'm trying to do is to explain or explain you how and why unit cost increases when there is a normal loss. That is the learning. Actually මේ ගානේ ඉගෙන ගන්න තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ කතන්දරේ මිසක් මේ 97 87 හදන එක නෙවෙයි. normal loss එකක් නැත්නම් ඔයාගේ cost එක 87යි. normal loss එක තිබිච්ච නිසා cost එක 97යි. ඇයි ඒක එහෙම වෙන්නේ? කොහොමද වෙන්නේ? Logic is this. So if there were normal loss, if there were no normal loss, cost would have been this. Assuming that that part of the cost of normal loss according to this calculation is 17,500. In when there is a real loss, what we are trying to do is to absorb this cost into these 1,800 products. So how much is it then? 17,500 divided by 1,800. So this is the additional amount you add on. It should be exactly this value. Now you see, you can match it. Did you get the point? So simply just forget about this part. If there is there were a normal loss, that is the calculation we did it the proper way, 97,000. So ඔය ගණන් ටික දාලා ඔක calculate කරලා උත්තරේ දුන්නාම අපි හදාලා ඉන්නවා. නමුත් මේකේ reality එක තේරුම් ගන්නේ නැහැ. How are we going to understand the reality? First assume that if there were no loss, no normal loss, එහෙනම් අපේ cost එක වෙන්නේ 87.5. 87.5 has gone up to 97.2 something. Each unit cost of production has increased by 9.77. How and why it happens? Because of the normal loss. Normal loss is absorbed into logical or expected production. What is the normal loss? The cost of normal loss is 17,500. Make a hypothetically calculate කරන්න. Cost of normal loss is it is normally not recognized. Why? Because that is absorbed. Now here logically we are trying to understand how much is really absorbed. This is the logical amount to be absorbed, 17,500 among how many? Now since there is a loss, only 1,800. So if you divide this 17,500 by 1,800, it comes to 9.72. So that is the exact amount or the difference between these two. So therefore your cost would increase by unit cost would increase by this value. I hope it's clear. Actually, if you have understood that part, that's great. That is the learning. That is the real learning. Ah, sorry. So you guys did not see the Excel. I'm sorry. So in that case, please speak up, because when I was working on the Excel, I didn't see. 1 minute. Earlier I had shared. Now do you see the screen? Do you see the screen? I mean the Excel sheet. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. Yeah, you can talk. Feel free to talk. It's good if you can talk rather than just chatting. Okay, anda kau katakan menarik. Hello, hello. Right. Now look at this Excel sheet. What I was just telling you, explaining. Total cost was 175,000. If there were no loss, 75,000 divided by 2,000 gives you this much. We know that there is a normal loss. Therefore, total cost is divided by 1,800 unit, it gives you. So now what is the real situation? Because of the normal loss, when the production shifts from 2,000 to 1,800, because of the normal loss, the cost of the normal loss is absorbed among expected production, other units. So therefore, cost of the production increased from 87.5 to 97 point something by creating a difference of this much, 9.72. How are we going to reconcile it for our understanding purpose? The meaning of normal loss is, okay, that much of cost has been absorbed by the other unit. What is that much? It is 17,500. How did you calculate it? So if there were no loss, unit cost is this much, then you split total cost into expected normal and expected normal loss and normal production. 200 into 87.5 is this much. In other words, the what do you call amount, logical amount applicable for the normal loss, which has been absorbed by the other units, is 17,500. In other words, that is the cost of the normal loss. The cost of the normal loss is not recorded anywhere. Therefore, since that is been absorbed, we must be able to calculate how much has been absorbed by one unit. Total amount is 17,500. So therefore, 17,500 divided by 1,800, 17,500 divided by 1,800 gives you this value, 9.72. That is the exact amount of this difference. You see, very logical. Actually, if you can argue and learn in this way, you never forget the concept of these normal losses, abnormal losses game. So you need not to study later. At any point in time, if a question is given, quickly you can calculate. It's a very simple mathematics, logical reasoning, and these things are reproduced and rearranged in your ledger accounts. But without knowing this, the philosophy behind, if you directly jump into ledger accounts and put it here and there and record, then you do not understand why it is. So, like each and every time, whenever you want to learn about losses, you need to practice, practice, practice. I don't think that that is the proper way of learning. Now, okay, we are here. We did it. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So yeah, good question. One asked. So it means that the denominator to be used when calculating the cost per unit is expected production and not the actual production. Yes, you're right. Not the actual, expected. Because you follow this expected normal loss. Logical. Why? That is established after realizing that this is the normal loss. So therefore, that is more logical for decision making. Because actual may have been influenced by either normal loss or abnormal loss or abnormal gain. Very correct. So that now you can see why the cost increased. So this is the value of finished goods then 97 into what is the actual finished good? 1000. Actual one is in this case 1720. So therefore 1720 into 97 is this much. 80 abnormal. What is the abnormal loss? That is not calculated. Yeah, I have not done the calculation for abnormal. Normal loss is 200. Still there is a difference between the normal expected units and the actual. Actual is 1720. That is less than the expected. Then there is an abnormal loss, that is 80. 80 into 97 should give you this. I hope do the calculation and see. So this is how those values are presented in the ledger account. This is not a big deal. That's what I want to emphasize, stress. But this becomes a big deal, very complicated for us if you do not know the logic that I explained in the Excel. I hope the message is clear. If you go for the calculation in the Excel and understand the question first, the calculation realized by yourself, and come to the process account, it would be easy. Practice in that way. So therefore, even at the examination, if you are asked to prepare a process account, automatically values can be taken this calculation. You need not to worry. You will never go wrong. But if you, without understanding that particular logic or rationale, if you think of this, oh my goodness, these formats here and there, oh my goodness.